Fair enough.
10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And even now, right now, probably I'd still be a little tripped out. I'm like, fucking Aaron just fucking dosed me. Just kidding. I don't know. I don't think that you would do that. Coming back to you, Aaron, with the 10 years ago self, like what were you doing 10 years ago? I know you just said that you can't remember it for dinner.
What was he doing 10 years ago? He was studying for finals 10 years ago. That's what he was doing.
Calm down.
Taking midterms.
Let's see. So I was probably in 10th grade or junior year. I mean, I would have told myself to be a little bit more attentive in school, I guess. You know, I didn't get a degree. I went to college, but I didn't end up graduating that. Or I would have told myself, don't even focus on that. Like, put yourself elsewhere. Don't even be in school. Don't even be in public education. Go get your GED and go into a trade immediately.
Right.
So that way, when you do reach the age of like 18, you're already 3 years into that. Crazy.
Yeah. Coming back to earlier conversation about your job, your current employment, do you think at some point you would like to become licensed in real estate?
No. I mean, yes, sort of. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to have, you know, a certification, thing like that, but I don't really want to be a buyer's agent. I don't want to be a realtor. I mean, you got to be a realtor to eventually be a broker, but I don't think that's the path I would want to go. I like the investor mindset, or, you know, I wouldn't say I want to do this on my own. I like where I'm at. I like the company I work for and having all the multiple resources to get something done. Mm-hmm. There's benefits to that, but I mean, I can't see myself going to school for real estate. I feel like it's...
Is that a thing you have to do? I always assumed it was just like they give you a booklet and like you have to, like, I mean, obviously you have to study and like you have to get a license, but I didn't think it was, I thought it was more like a driver's license as opposed to like having to go to like sit in a classroom. And
it's almost on that level. I can't really speak for anyone that's a realtor, but I mean, from my understanding, it's just a couple weeks of classes and a test, and you got it, and there's a fee. I mean, but on the plus side, you can establish yourself as a realtor, and you can go show people homes and be their buyer's agent and earn a commission, which would be fun. But for me, I mean, I'm a people person, but I couldn't see myself showing picky people one house, 10 houses to find out what they hate about it, to find out what they like about it, and then waste all that time to find out, no, we went with another realtor.
Right,
you know,
right.
We're not ready to buy yet.
We'll just have cookies at your open house.
Yeah. I saw one listing. It's like, hey, if you submit an offer on this home, you get like $1,000 worth of free tacos to some place in Nampa. I was like, that's a genius idea. Genius marketing tactic. I'd buy a house to get $1,000 in tacos.
Hell yeah. Put myself in debt for those tacos, baby.
Yeah.
I mean, I like tacos. Speaking of tacos, have you been to the Funky Taco?
I have not.
Dude, you got to check it out. The Funky Taco, just their tortillas by themselves. I wouldn't just eat their tortillas by themselves. That'd be weird. But
why would that be weird?
They're like, they got like this smoky flavor to them too. Like I don't know how they do it, but I always get the fried flour tacos, and it's got this like vegan sauce and fried cauliflower, and oh my god,
are they paying us for this press right now? Because
not yet.
Why are we promoting?
Not yet.
All right, well then, Funky Taco, give us some money. We'll talk about you every week. Every week we'll talk about you, Funky Taco. We'll wear T-shirts. Just give us money. Or send us free tacos.
Here's a legit thing. We're not getting that many listens.
That's a terrible thing to tell people who are listening to us right now, because they're going to be like,
out. It's fine.
Be like, well, what do you mean? I'm listening. He doesn't like us, and then we lost a listener.
You need some endorsements. You got to open it up. This episode is brought to you by the Funky Taco.
Tonight's episode is brought to you by the Funky Taco. Eat that funky taco, white boy. Just shit like that. Be great. I'd be all over it.
I mean, we could go down there and talk to him.
Word.
You should.
I mean, I'm not opposed to it. We still need to talk to Jeremy about it.
Yeah.
Get some free tickets to hand out to people who do things that we asked them to do. Or something like that. I don't know. Like leave us a comment on the show page, or I don't know. Whatever.
You are giving yourself a lot of work to do editing wise. Listen.
I know.
What other podcasts do you guys listen to?
Dude, so I just found this podcast, the Jocko podcast. This guy is a leadership consultant. So from the Navy SEALs, he retired in 2009, I think it was, that he said. And he and a guy that he was in the SEALs with created this company that is a leadership consultant company. And I don't know how long ago he started this podcast. There's like 213 episodes. I've listened to 3 or 4 of them. And the reason that I found him was I was listening to Tom Bilyeu. He had him on as a guest, and so Tom Bilyeu has a course that you can sign up for that's either leadership, business development, or just personal development stuff. It's his YouTube channel that's devoted to that is Impact Theory, and then the Impact Theory has a course that comes along with it. And it's like, I don't know, $49 a month or something like that. Or if you buy a year's worth, you get a 50% discount. And Jocko was on his show, and he was talking about a couple of books that he's written. And he wrote this one book. It's a children's book, but it's something, the Samurai Kid or the Warrior Kid, something like that. So the story basically goes, this kid, he's not doing very well in school. He's young, doesn't know all of his multiplication tables, you know?
Yeah.
And he goes to his dad, hey, I need help. Like, I'm struggling. I got bullies that are giving me a hard time, and like I'm not very good at school. And so his dad starts teaching him martial arts and teaching him his multiplication tables, times tables, whatever the fuck they're called.
You had him right. Either way.
Okay.
Either or works. It's a tomato situation.
Okay. And like, it's like one of those teaching kind of kids books, right? And the whole idea behind the book, from what I gathered, is like if you do martial arts and you put in the time to learn a craft or educate yourself, like you're getting ahead of the curve and like being better prepared as an adult when you take care of that stuff as you're younger. And if you know how to fight, you almost never have to, because people can just like generally see if this person's trained. You can see it on them, like how they're built, how they hold themselves, the confidence that they have, and even the humility that they have. And so this guy Jocko talks a lot about humility and confidence, martial arts. He's like a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and I mean, I've only listened to 2 or 3 episodes so far, but I just found it, and it's super good. He's got a guy on his co-host. His name is Echo. So I've been listening to that one. I've been listening to a lot of Gary Vee. You actually sent me his podcast originally.
Yeah, I tuned out a while ago. I mean, I listen to it every now and then, but I feel like a lot of it's just regurgitated.
Maybe I'm not listening to a lot of his current stuff, so yeah. I like to get a podcast a podcast and go back to episode 1 and listen all the way through. And so I'm still on some of the earlier stuff of Gary Vee. And so Joe Rogan podcast, there's this other podcast called Quick Brain by Jim Quick. Yeah, Quick Brain. Nice. It's Quick spelled Kwik. And so he had a brain injury whenever he was younger, so he had to like basically retrain himself how to learn again. And he's like really big on speed reading. You
have to learn how to learn. That's an interesting concept.
How do you mean?
Think about, like, he had to teach himself how to learn. So like he had to learn how to learn.
Yeah.
And that's just, to me, that's just an interesting thing to think about. Like, if I now at 36 had to teach myself how to write my name, how long would it take? Like how would I be able to do that on my own, or
Really?
would I need help? You know what I mean? Like if I had,
it's definitely possible that you would need help. It's likely that you would need help. Because, like, with the types of brain injuries where that would actually be a thing, like, you don't have the cognitive function that you had at one point. And I was talking to somebody about that recently, would you actually know that you didn't know? You know what I mean?
I think you'd find out through process of elimination and interacting with people.
Right. But
I'd be like, dude, how come your shoes are untied? I didn't know I was supposed to tie them.
Fair. But let's imagine you got in a car crash and you were in a coma and you woke up with amnesia and somebody was like, you are a pianist rather than the comedian that you are.
Okay.
Do you think that you would naturally start to gravitate back towards comedy, or would you like go with this idea that you were actually a pianist?
Well, I mean, I think if I realized that because I mean, a lot of like music and stuff like that is muscle memory.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So even if I had amnesia, if I was a pianist, I could probably, and I'm just assuming here because I don't know, but I imagine that I'd be able to just kind of pick it up, and I might not know how, but I'd be like, oh, this is pretty easy, but I'm not a pianist, so if I'm sitting at the piano and I'm like banging out a couple of clunkers, I'd be like, wait a minute,
The title of
was I any good? Nice. Nice. Like, I don't know. I think I'd probably, because nobody gets amnesia forever, right? Like, eventually, I feel like, at least television has taught me, and movies, that eventually you get your memory back. I don't know if it's a permanent thing, but.
I just watched an episode, I cannot think of the name of it, about a guy who's had amnesia for like 35 years.
Is it an actual real thing, or
based on a true story?
Based on, yeah, and they interviewed the guy. He's like, I don't know who any of these fucking people are. But he was back at his house. They were helping take care of him and everything. He's like, I have no idea.
After 35 years, though, he didn't at least accept, oh, this is John.
Well, he went by. They found him at Burger King, and then he had a first name that he created that his initials were BK, right? But over time, he began to remember certain things. So there was some things that he remembered. Like he finally remembered a restaurant that he'd been at that he hated. Which turns out that he'd worked there for a while. So a few various things, but he never could tie everything in. And they figured out who he was and whatnot. But
interesting.
Yeah, I wished if I could think of the name of the show, I'd give it to you, but I don't remember it.
It's on regular TV?
No, it was a YouTube thing. But
YouTube,
it was some,
okay.
Yeah, some thing, whatever they call this. I was going to call it a documentary, but it's not a documentary.
Like a reality TV show?
No, it wasn't a reality thing. It was some guy that we could go this route if you want. But
I'm just curious.
Yeah, so it's a lot of the YouTubers go out and do their own thing. They do research, and some of them are actually legit. They go out and they do the research on these types of things, and they get this information and they share it. And I can't think of the name of the guy that had this, but it was one of those shows. I tend to watch stuff like that when I do. And as far as the learning new stuff goes. Mm-hmm. And it happened to be about amnesia, and then he was telling the story about this, and that's basically what the whole thing was about. But yeah, it was pretty interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like it would be a relief to have amnesia for like a week.
So they asked this guy, they kept pressuring this guy to figure out, to try to see who his family was. And he finally he told them, stop. I'm okay with where I'm at right now. I don't know who they are. They don't know who I am. We just don't know each other. So leave me alone and let me live in this world, this new world that I'm dealing with.
Huh.
Anyways.
Well, hey, thank you for that contribution, producer.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I don't know.
Why would amnesia be good for a week? Like, what are you thinking?
Just to
or what are you not thinking?
Just to be able to take a vacation from myself for like a week, 2 weeks, and just fucking live on my own terms for I don't know what responsibilities I have because I don't know who I am. I think it would just be a nice little break because you can't